Welcome to our podcast, Fear Less, Do More. Here we're going to take a deep dive into the minds of some really daring, impactful change makers. I'm your host, Gill Hunter, and I'm the managing partner at Square One Law. In each episode, we're going to meet some innovators, some trailblazers, and we're going to talk about their successes, their fears, their challenges, and their lived experiences. We're going to understand their secrets to their resilience and their source of their passion, so that we can understand what drives them to achieve. These are all leaders who inspire us to step out of our own comfort zones and fear less, do more. Hi, welcome to this episode of our podcast, Fear Less, Do More. And today I have a true fearless leader with me, Tania Cooper from Steel Benders.
Morning.
Morning. Hi, Tania. Thank you for joining me today for a chat.
Oh, thanks, Jill.
So you're the MD at Steel Benders. Do I need to hazard a guess as to what Steel Benders does?
Shockingly, we bend steel. We profile cut and bend steel. We form steel.
That's quite an unusual profession for a woman.
I kind of fell into it. So, wasn't a career choice. My background's finance and started in audit a long time ago. And from there, went into industry, a few different roles, and then finished up as a temp at Alexander Technologies, a battery and charger design and manufacturing company, international, and just worked my way through the ranks and eventually became CEO. And alongside that, my husband, and we jointly set it up, but he's ran it. And then I retired from Alexander's. He liked the look of retirement, decided to trade places. He retired, I took his job. And hence, Steel Benders. Who knew?
And how's that working out?
Great. You know what? It's a lovely little company. It was a nice little challenge, restructuring, reorganising it when I took over. It runs really well. Great management team.
And you're based in the Tees Valley?
We're in Middlesbrough.
And I presume that's a sort of ideal spot to be with the history of steel making there in the background.
Do you know, it's a great little spot. It's too small for us right now, so we have some fairly exciting expansion plans to announce. But yeah, it's a great location.
So are we going to get the scoop on the expansion plans, or is
You
that
can.
keeping? Oh,
We've just bought a 6-acre site, and we're going to relocate the whole facility, lock, stock and barrel, to a new site, purpose-built buildings, and extra facilities, extra equipment, extra investment in machinery. We've already put a couple of million into new machinery in the last 2 years. We're going to have some of the largest bending capacity in the UK, and some fairly unique offerings that nobody else can do.
And you know, as I said, it's quite unusual for women still, unfortunately, to go into those sorts of heavy industries. What advice would you have for somebody who was a young woman thinking, well, this might be the industry, but I'm not sure I'll fit in?
Do you know what? I think all my working life, it's been predominantly male-driven, even in the battery and design manufacturing world. And I just think, don't be afraid. I found it quite easy working in a man's world. I think if you're just driven and you focus, you need to have thick skin. Probably less so nowadays, but you certainly needed thick skin way back. Just push through. Just go for it. I mean, make your mistakes and go for it. Be driven. Be focused and be driven. If you're driven, you'll succeed.
I think it's really important that that young women coming through, and men as well, have really good role models in business. And I think, you know, you can only be what you can see, and if you can see that you've made a success of it, that probably will give somebody the motivation to think, well, actually, I might be able to do it too.
I don't think you should be frightened to ask for help. Mm-hmm. There's no wrong questions. Learn from your mistakes and network. I'm a big believer in network, and I think there's a lot of people out there with a lot of experience, and they're willing to help. So definitely network. And I challenged one of my team members with that recently, who just got up to ops director, and he did. So next thing you know, he's meeting Lord whoever, head of the UK metal industry. I thought, okay, bit of ambitious, but hey, set it up, went for it. So don't be afraid to network, and I think it's a massive help.
And you're very passionate about manufacturing, and you're very passionate about STEM generally, particularly for young people. And one of the roles you hold is within the STEM Foundation.
I am.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
I chair the North East STEM Foundation. It's a very small charity. Been on set up a few years now. Our objective is to remove the financial barriers for young people to study STEM in the northeast of England. We raise our money predominantly from industry, so I've always got my begging cap on and happy to take a check. Anybody wants to write one out for me. But it's more than just the money. It's giving opportunity and awareness and to demonstrate to the young people in the North East what amazing companies we have here in the North East and the opportunities that exist. We support that through the UTC in Aycliffe, which is a STEM dedicated school where 14-year-old children, when they take their options, can decide to leave their mainstream school and go and study just STEM. It's not really well known. It's certainly getting more knowledge now because we're pushing it hard, but it has excellent results. And what we get there is you get children who've decided they just want to study STEM and they've made a career choice at 14 to go there. So you're in an environment that's just driven and passionate and enthusiastic because they've all want to be there and want to study STEM. And so we ask employers to get involved with the school. We're campaigning for a Teesside one. We're campaigning for a Newcastle one to get behind the two campaigns. It's not necessarily giving us money, it's just a letter of support. Would be amazing. But to see the young students and see the passion and the stories that come out of that, it's heartwarming. And these are our stars for the future. And so my challenge to industry, get behind it. Let's fill our own skills gaps. Let's support the students coming through, particularly in that STEM area. And the lovely thing is, we're getting a lot more girls coming in. Whereas somewhere else there might be a unique position and the only girl and feel disenchanted. Here, there's more and more girls, and you're rewarded with your success. It's good to be a nerd there. It's good to be good at what you do. And so we're seeing a lot more girls coming through in that route. And it's really, really rewarding to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the privilege of being able to go and have a look around the UTC, and I think unless I had no idea what a UTC was.
Me neither.
In my head, it was just a school where people were taught STEM subjects rather than. But it's so much more than that. There's all the practical stuff. There's all the equipment and the machines. So people learn real practical skills.
They do.
Not just all the theory behind it.
That's
so they're
right.
job ready at the end of it.
They are career ready. It runs a working week. The children clock in, clock out. They talk to the teachers on a first name basis. Everything's very much ran, so it feels like a company. It doesn't feel like a school. They're much more work ready. And when they're leaving there and they're moving on to either further education, higher education, apprenticeships, they've already got 4 years of STEM dedicated education and skills like a modern apprentice in a working environment because they've got a lot of industry engagement. They'll probably visit 30 companies in their school career during that time frame and spend time in each of those companies. So they're much more work ready.
And what's the benefit to a business getting involved with the UTC? What are they going to get out of that?
You're going to help influence skills going forward. You're going to help influence the shape of those students coming through. You're able to basically have a 2-3 year interview process, identify the students that best fit your organisation on the skill sets that best work for you. You can cherry pick from a pool of really amazing students who want to study STEM, who've got real aspirations to follow that career path. And the rewarding factor, it really is a feel-good factor, not just for me. We had a bunch of them coming down the factory and the guys were all like, we can't wait to show those students how to do it. I've got no production done. Everybody played STEM that day, but it was really rewarding for everybody.
Are there any sort of particular projects or students, things that people have done and accomplished through the UTC that have really stood out in your mind?
There's a few exciting ones coming up. I'm not sure I can say too much about them just yet because there's to be announced. But it's a small one I did with students. So I funded a very small amount of money to shape it, £500. So a £500 budget, and we were going to do a lighting installation for Luminaire. Obviously Luminaire were like, you can't officially have a lighting installation in our display. So we pulled a favour in, and Barclays Bank very kindly loaned us their windows in the Market Square during Luminaire. And the students did a design project. So they designed, they reviewed, they manufactured. We ran it as a full design review process, me being the customer. I came in for design review meetings. We had budget review meetings. They created their teams. We had gate reviews. They had meantime between failure tests. They had installation plans, decommissioning plans, emergency call-out plans. It was honestly, it just blew me away how professional they were. And I'm not teaching them this. They knew this. All I'm doing is giving them a practical environment to apply it in. And sure enough, it was all done, dusted, and up it went, and their display was there. In fact, they still have the displays. They're repurposing them this year at the moment. They've just pulled them out. They repurposed them for another application, so it's got legacy in it. the beautiful part of that was part of that ended up being applied to their marks in their final exam results. So actually, it was really beneficial to them too, which pure luck. It shows having an element marked for the exams. So, you know, they took photos, part of their portfolio going forward, evidence what they've worked on as a project. So I loved it. It was great fun. The students were just amazing, really amazing. One of them went on to go to work for BMW. They've got, you know, these students have gone on to other places. Shamefully, all down country. We need to hang on to this skill set locally.
And how do we do that?
Get involved as employees, show them what's around the doors, let them know that you've got positions for them. Be involved.
And you mentioned a bit about the sort of the ambition of the foundation and what you want to try and achieve. What would be, in 10 years' time, what would success look like?
For me personally, the 2 new UTCs would be my personal goal on that. You know, we have an outreach program to the younger children in primary schools called Future Makers. So we're instilling a love for STEM within the younger children. And it's not a one-off engagement. The idea is this is part of what we fund, that there's an ongoing relationship through their school career. But we have to ensure the spaces for them because we're almost fully, we're pretty much at full capacity currently at the UTC that there. So we need to make sure there's more space and that we don't have them disenchant and they move off and go elsewhere to study. Keep our local talent where possible. And so 2 UTCs dedicated to STEM with their own specialism relevant to the location they're in and offering that space for the students. For me personally, that would be a huge success.
Well, hopefully there'll be people watching who will want to engage with that and support that.
Reach out. We'd love that.
That'd be great. And I mean, you're very passionate, obviously, about STEM, but you're also very active generally in the charity sector. You know, you're always doing something for charity. Where does that passion come from?
I think I'm in a stage in my career and position in my life where I have time to be able to do things like that. Like I said, I have a really great management team, and I've been heavily involved in all the companies I've been in my career, and by choice because I'm very driven and I loved it, and I like my fingers in every bit of the pie. You know, I like to know everything that's going on. And I think right now it's like nice to step back, let the management team step up. They run the day-to-day. I'm a steering hand. I'm strategic. I'm there. And so that gives me freedom. And so that freedom gives me choices to do things that are passionate, are close to me for different reasons in friends and family, things that have impacted different people, but also from a career point of view to give opportunities. And it's nice to be able to do something like that. It's really rewarding. So I think that's just, I enjoy it. Nothing else, but I like to be in charge. I like to organise, so I do enjoy that.
Yeah, I hope that. My daughter's planning to go travelling at the moment, and we went to talk about, you know, what she was going to do, and she just said, "Mom, don't take over. This is my trip, not yours." So I get that.
I also give somebody a space. It took a long time to learn to shut up and listen from my point of view. It was a learning curve and a team building exercise where they said, today you're not allowed to volunteer any information first. It killed me the whole day having to wait for somebody else to speak and put their ideas on the table. But it was a really good lesson to learn. You know, other people have great ideas but may not be quite as quick or as confident to say first.
Yeah.
So listen. So long time I had to learn and listen.
And I also think as well, if you're you've got to accept as the leader of the business that if you put an idea on the table first, the likelihood is that 95% of people in the room will go, yes, that's a great idea.
Exactly that.
And you don't get the challenge. You don't get it is a real skill. I struggle with that as well. You know, it's stepping back and going, no, it's not my time to speak.
Yeah.
I might think I know the answers, but actually there might be some real gems hidden here.
And I still have to really work at that even now. Because I'm like, oh, yep, no, somebody else might have a better idea. Just give them a chance.
Yeah. And you're obviously in a sort of transitional phase, as you said, with the business, you know, where you've stepped back a bit. And that's quite a hard thing for somebody who's been involved with the business so heavily and has made it what it is today to actually take that step back. What's enabled you to do that?
I keep saying it, but the team's great. You know, not taking nothing away from what my husband done. He had a brilliant company, very successful company, with just different skills. And he was very involved in the day-to-day, whereas I made a choice not to be involved in the day-to-day. Done that, didn't want to go back to it. I didn't want to be tied in at that kind of level. So it was a case of empowering the team, reorganising, reskilling, different directions, put on the table their opportunities. There will be an exit. No secret they know that there'll be an exit for Malcolm and I at some point, and we'd love it to be an MBO as an exit. And hopefully that's what the team's striving towards, and they evidence their capability, and it's all part of a plan to have the team ready for an MBO at some point in the future.
And how do you go about sort of empowering your team to make the decisions that you've always made?
You've got to give them the skills and the space and the time to make the errors and to step up and to learn. You've got to provide the mentoring, just the time and the opportunity, and the challenges need to be there. You know, it's a learning curve. Everything's and you can't learn it overnight. It's as situations occur, that's when you learn different things. And and the hardest thing, the most rewarding thing is people, the most disappointing thing is people at times. Employees can be just amazing, but equally they can be equally as challenging. So that's something that happens and you learn over a period of time. And it's giving them those opportunities to see how that happens. Training where we need to do training, formal training, mentoring, seeing an opportunity and saying, okay, this is a great learning curve, so we're doing an expansion. So we've done some finance planning, strategic discussions. So we've had all the management team in all aspects of it. So even the non-financial parts of the team have sat in each meeting. So everybody's getting a good grounded, but may not be the expert in that particular area, but they're getting understanding.
So you've had 36 years in business?
Yeah. Well, let me work out how old. Well, I started working when I was 14.
Right. So
my first job, so probably a little bit longer.
What was your first job?
I sold wedding dresses on a weekend.
Oh, right. In a wedding shop or just?
In a wedding shop. It was great fun. So basically I had a big doll to play with and dress up. It was great fun. It's kind of interesting in the winter because we sold underwear in the winter. A bit of a change.
Right, so it's a wedding shop that sold underwear in the winter.
Well, I did wedding underwear. But nobody really got married in the winter way back when. Not very often. So, so they said, let's do Christmas underwear kind of thing. So for the lady in your life, it was interesting because we had a chime that did Here Comes the Bride As You Come the Door, and the amount of guys that would walk in, it would chime it and they'd run right back out the door. It was a bet whether, and they'd start the wind, shall I go in, shall I not go in? As a 14-year-old selling underwear for men, it was interesting, shall we say. There's some stories, but probably not for today.
I was going to ask you what your career highlight had been, but I think that's got to be it. So.
Not quite. But, it was interesting. What's my career highlight? Oh, that's tough. There's so many things I've enjoyed. I mean, I'd been at Alexander's a long time and worked my way through, and it was really nice to get the CEO position. It was an American inward investment, and it went through a few different reiterations of acquisitions and mergers. And there was always an American guy, all due respect, who was going to be CEO, and it just took a long time for them to recognise the skill set that's had internally. I think because you're there a long time, one, as a woman, you got underpaid. And two, you were like, oh, well, you just get on with it. And well, you can do all the work, but we promote the guys. And it took a long time until I got into a position where, we're changing that. So we did a reverse acquisition of the parent and we became the headquarters. Well, life changed. And I think an epiphany moment really was we'd done our year in finances, and there we are, we're doing our reviews. And there was me as a CEO. My finance director was a lady. The accounts manager was a lady. Chartered accountant was a lady. And the bank manager was a lady. First meeting in my working career, we had just all women in the room. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against guys, but it was really unusual. All of us took a moment and thought, wow, first time I've sat in a meeting at this kind of level, in this kind of seniority in a company, international, to have just all women in the room. And it was really nice. We took a moment to celebrate. That was a memorable moment.
How long ago was that?
Oh gosh, how long ago? Probably 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah. So that would have been very unusual.
It was unusual.
Point in time.
Yeah, it was unusual. And obviously getting an MBA was quite nice. It was a shock. I did think it was a joke. But that was a wind up until, anyway, it turned out to be real. That was nice. And that was I love international trade. It was an absolute passion for me. I don't get to play international trade anymore. So that was a real nice acknowledgement for that work that I did for UKTI on international trade.
But you thought it was a joke?
I did. You just
get a bit of a cruel joke, that one.
Well, you get this random letter in the post because you know it and you don't know.
Yeah.
And it came, it was all official looking, and it was, I'm like, oh yeah, it's Malcolm, that's Malcolm's husband. I thought, oh yeah, it's a wind up, so I just kind of put it away, just didn't acknowledge it, thought, I'm not biting, I'm not falling for it. And then the people who nominated me rang me later and said, did you get a letter? I went, I did. Is it real? Yeah. I said, well, I better answer it then. Yes, please, thanks very much, I'll come. So yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it's always nice to be recognised for
It
something,
was.
particularly when it's something that you're really passionate about as
It was
well.
quite the honour. It really was quite the honour. It was special. And it was lovely to take, obviously we've got 2 girls, it was lovely to take the girls to the palace as well. So the 4 of us, we made a lovely weekend of it. It was a memorable moment for us all.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about your career and the things that you do on a work front and the passions that you have. Outside of work, what sort of stuff are you passionate about there?
We like to do a little bit of travelling.
I had heard that.
We tried to squeeze a few holidays in. Luckily, who knew we would become caravanners? You drive along thinking, bloody caravans, and bikes, push bikes. Now we've got both bikes and caravans. So, we've found a love for caravans. So every weekend we can squeeze anything in, we do. And then my Alexander work was all international travel. So the last thing I would do was get on a plane. I don't do that now, so I don't mind getting on a plane. So we squeeze as many flight holidays in as we can get to around Europe and on a further afield. And we've discovered cruising. So squeezed 3 of them in this year already.
Wow.
So we do like to travel. And I'm a nana, which is another big happy moment. So hanging out with the little fellas, it's really nice. We enjoy that. We just never stop. We're busy. We just always have something on the go. So we like to cook. We like to entertain. Both of us. It's a bit of a challenge who's getting in the kitchen first. And that's kind of the thing we do.
What's your signature dish?
Oh, so if I'm doing we have a little menu one that I did. It's kind of one of Mal's favourites. I keep going back to. So chorizo and king scallops as a starter. Pork 3 ways. And it comes with it gets too complicated, and a white chocolate cheesecake is his kind of favourite. Seafood pancakes, I really like seafood pancakes.
That
very
sounds
nice.
Lovely. Yeah.
So I quite like doing them. I like making sauces. I quite like to experiment with sauces. So Mal's a great cook, so he's more adventurous than I am. So he'll cook anything and have a go. He'll make bread and everything. So between us, we do like cooking.
Well, I didn't think I'd hear those words today. I really like sauces. Stealing sauces.
There we go. Who knew?
And travel-wise, where's your dream destination? Where have you not been that you would really like to go to?
There's quite a few places I haven't been to, but I think I haven't been to India, and I'd like to go to India. Nowhere specific. I'd just like to tour around and see different sites and different parts of it. We tend to follow food around the world. Sad. But yeah, so we're pretty adventurous. We'll try anything anywhere. So I think I would just follow some routes around where we haven't tried the food. But yeah, I think India would have to be one of my next places to go visit.
I travelled in India years ago, and it is fabulous.
Yeah.
And it is, if you love food, it's a brilliant place to go.
I love Southeast Asia. I mean, Asia, I really, really enjoy it. But yeah, I think India would be a destination I would like to go to.
So this is a question I ask everybody, but I'm actually quite concerned as to how you would fit this in. But what you is there anything that you don't do now that you would like to do more of?
I'm really enjoying my life at the moment. I really am in a position. I'm privileged to be in the position I'm in. And it's crazy, isn't it? The harder you work, the luckier you get. But yeah, so I'd like to do more of the same. I would like to see success. I'd like to see more involvement with the STEM Foundation and see the success of that by establishing the UTCs. That would be a real passion for me. I'd like to make that happen. Obviously, you need help for that. Do more of. I quite enjoy mentoring.
All right.
So I do a little bit, in a few different areas, but you kind of do a lot naturally in work and what have you. But I quite like helping. I've seen people succeed and helping on that kind of base. I do enjoy that. And what I'm doing in the charity world, it sounds very grand. It's not really. It's just, I enjoy it. And because I enjoy it, it's nice to do more. Nothing earth-shattering, just kind of easy little things.
I think the mentoring thing's really interesting. I think, as I said at the start, I think you are a really good role model, particularly for younger women coming through into STEM. And I'm sure, your enthusiasm for what you do would be enough to motivate people?
I am a bit of a fraud because I am an accountant. Finance is my background, so I'm not an engineer. I just happen to have been involved in engineering companies as a result of it, and I enjoy engineering companies. There's passion in what they do, and there's a product at the end of the day, and there's something quantifiable you can look at. Just go for your dreams, I think.
Well, that's a brilliant message to end on. So thank you very much for that chat. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks, Jill.
And
it wasn't
good
as
luck.
painful as I thought.
I'm pleased that I haven't caused you pain. That's a nice way to end.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for listening to Fear Less, Do More. All of our guests come from a diverse range of backgrounds, but they all share a common drive to face their fears, take action, and create meaningful impact. If you've enjoyed this episode of our podcast, please follow us, Square One Law, on Instagram and LinkedIn, and share the content with your friends, family, and networks. Thank you, and see you again on our next episode.